Okay, so finally I applied to USCIS. I literally got me a credit card in Amsterdam and paid the fees with my credit card. And I did some research on USCIS to the point where I found out you cannot bring any electronics with you, not even your cell phone at that time. I don't know how things are right now. And I looked up where to go and I wrote down every bus and tram and everything that I needed to get on in order to get there. And there were people that would guide me and stuff like that. And I got there and my visa was approved. And mind you, you need to have $50,000 in order for you to get here. And I did not have nothing near that. And especially with my mom not even wanting me to come, I didn't have that, right? So God placed my uncle in my life where, he co-signed for me to be here and stuff like that. Which was a miracle in itself because where do you find somebody to just say, oh, I have $50,000 in my bank account and I'm going to sign for you to go? That doesn't happen like that, right? So fast forward, well, back to my mom, how one day we were gonna go somewhere. We walk into the bus together, and she's like, "I have a surprise for you." I'm like, "What is it?" She's like, "I'm okay with you moving to America." And I'm like, "What? You're okay with me moving? Like, what happened? How did it? Like, what made you say yes?" And she was like, "I was talking to my friend today, and she was like, don't be in the way of your daughter's dream." And let her go figure out for herself. Let her fly on her own. And if things don't work out, she can always come back. It's nothing is permanent, but at least let her try. And just like, and another thing, you at least have another location to go visit, another destination. And she's like, I got $1,000 for you, just for you to decorate your room. And I'm like, oh my god, I was so happy. I could not describe how happy I was in that moment. And that's when I proceeded on with the application. And I had told my mom, I have this, this appointment. And she didn't come to me. I think she was at work at the time. Because, you get letters and stuff like that. And they tell you when to go and all of that. So she was amazed at how much research I had done and how much I found out on my own and all the steps that I took in order for me to actually get here. Like she didn't think that, I even knew how to end up here. She didn't think none of it. She was like, I actually underestimated you. And that also, I did that to prove to her that I'm capable, and it showed her indeed. And she was like, I know now that you're capable, and I trust that when you go, you will do well, and yeah, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud. I was 20, guys. I had just turned 20, and I did that. And I didn't do it alone. Honestly, God was there every step of the way because from not really knowing how to properly speak English to filing these forms by myself and getting them approved, you can't tell me that God wasn't there holding my hand and guiding me through. You cannot tell me that. He was not there. And so I filed and, I paid the fees because I was working. I paid the fees with my own money. And then I think my dad, he ended up giving me $500 for my for the actual visa because there's the filing fees and all of that, and then the fee for the visa too, or whatever. So yeah, I didn't have a whole bunch of savings when I got here. I barely got here with anything really because everything that I had, I had spent on the filing and all of that, and buying my ticket. And shortly after after filing before coming here, my grandmother actually passed. And that made me feel like, should I even go? And I remember having a talk, my grandfather, I don't know how he knew, because I didn't tell nobody that I wasn't gonna go. So he was like, come have a seat on the table. And we were talking, and he was like, I know grandmother passed, but move to America because that's something you want. And my grandmother, she was always saying like, if that's what she want to do, let her do it. And that's what she always, I'll get back to that story. She would always say that. So my grandfather was like, you need to move there. Continue to pursue your degree. Because grandma would have wanted that for you. She really would have. And one thing my grandmother was always big on is go get your degree. That is your first husband. She would always say that. And I'm glad I did. Because I was so ready to just stay in Suriname with my grandfather after, because they were together for so many years, and it was such a heavy thing to see him go through that loss. I wanted to be there for him, but he was like, mm-mm. I didn't even tell him, Grandpa, I want to stay here for you. He was just like, as if he just knew it, right? So I'm glad that he talked to me that day. Yeah, I was very close to my grandparents because my mom, she raised me, but we were living with my grandparents when I was a child until I was 8. And so I was raised by the 3 of them, really. So I have a very conservative side to me that really comes from my grandma, honestly. And, well, my grandpa too, but mainly my grandma. And so when I was 8, my mom and I moved to Amsterdam in pursuit of me having a better future. And so I always say my mom moves me to Amsterdam for a better future, and I moved myself here for a better future of my children, right? And also because I want more for myself. I believe that I can have more for myself. And so, I took those steps. Back to my childhood. I always was a fashionable kid. Like, little Nabila, baby Nabila was always fashionable. Growing up, every time I would go to school, and this was, like you have elementary school, but before elementary school starts, really, we have like, it's divided. So when you're 4 years old, you're in a different group, and then when you're 5 years old, you're in a different group, and then from 6 on, you're with the bigger kids, right? So when I was 4 and 5, we didn't wear uniforms to school. We would just wear whatever our parents would let us wear. And me being as fashionable as I am, I would always tell my mom I want to wear this and I want to wear that, and I would put my outfits together. Literally at 4 and 5 years old, I would tell my mom what to wear, what I wanted to wear. And I had this favorite skirt, and I would always wear this skirt. It was a denim skirt. And sometimes she was like, I'm not letting you wear this skirt because people are gonna think you don't have no clothes when you do, right? So as I'm telling her what I want to wear, I'm also telling her how I want her to do my hair. I'll be like, I want a knot right here, and I want a knot right here, and I want to have braids in the back, and I want to have, like, we would call it the zigzag. And so she would put glitter gel, and she would put the glitter gel and just make like a little wave on my forehead. And it was the cutest thing ever. I really loved it when she would do it. But of course, me telling my mom every day how I want her to do my hair, some days she didn't feel like it, So some days she's like, no, you're just getting your hair done like the way I wanted to do it, like something easy. And I would throw a tantrum. I would be big mad. And sometimes I would cry. And my grandmother, she would always say a child shouldn't go to school crying. So if she doesn't wear something, or if she doesn't want her hair like this, redo her hair the way she wanted to. And I was being bad. So sometimes if she did my hair and I didn't like it, I would just go complain to my grandma and be like, Grandma, I don't like it. Look at what mommy did, And then my grandma would tell her to redo it, and she would redo it. Literally every day. And so on the weekends, my mom would take a break. And I hated the weekends because that was the time that my grandmother would do my hair. And she would do these thick grandma braids that I hated. The part would be crooked and she did not care. And then I would go to my mom like, Mom, look what grandma did. I want you to do my hair. And my mom would be like, no. Where are you going? You're not going nowhere. Nope. I do your hair Monday through Friday. Nope. And I would cry, but it was like, after a while, you just get over it, And My grandma wouldn't redo my hair because she was like, Monday through Friday, you get your hair the way you want it. The weekend is your mom's break. Which is it's fair. It's fair. But I always ask my mom, if you knew that I was fashionable at such a young age, why did you not want me to go pursue fashion, you know? And I really think, like I said earlier, it's really because she was trying to shield me from negative experiences that she had herself. And honestly, I have experienced too. You know, to this day, I do every now and then have a very difficult client, but how do you deal with that? You just remain professional. You walk them through the process, break down the process, tell them this is what we do. Once you approve this, this is what you get. You know, I get sometimes contracts involved, and you know, I really walk my difficult clients through it so that they have a better understanding, because a lot of times people are difficult because they don't know what to expect. They don't know what to get from you, and they don't understand the whole thing, right? This is not their field, it's yours. So that is one thing. Or just find a way to wow them, find a way to satisfy them, just provide a really good service to them in general. And sometimes people are still difficult no matter what you do, no matter how well you serve them. So sometimes you can't do anything but, you know, just move on past it, do what you were paid to do, and leave them behind and never work with them again. Never, you know? So those are ways in which I deal with difficult clients. And sometimes if I already know ahead of time this is going to be a difficult client, I just say no, I can't do it. I'm not able to do it. I don't have the capacity for it, you know? But I guess my mom, she never really saw it coming that I would want to do something like this. And December of 2015, I came to Florida and I spent some time with my cousin, and she drove me down to Georgia. And I believe that we left on New Year's Eve in 2015, and I believe that we made it here in Georgia on the 1st of January. And we stayed with her friends and family for a little bit until I got into my dorm. And I was excited. It was a new year, no me, no experience, new country, new friends, everything brand new, right? And I was so excited about this whole journey. I was looking forward to everything. I was still processing, so I felt like I was living not in reality. It seemed so surreal the whole time. So looking back, I don't know if I truly enjoyed everything because it was happening so fast and it just didn't feel real. It was like, oh my God, I had this big dream of moving to America and now I'm actually here. And what is it going to look like? And I was not scared in the sense of, oh my God, take me back. I was scared of like, what's gonna happen? How am I gonna find my drive? Because as soon as I actually got into college, I could not stay because all the scholarships that I had applied for at home, I didn't get. And I was disappointed, I was crushed, and you know, it was a very big difference in the amount that we pay in college overseas than what I had to pay coming here. And you know, I had depended on all these scholarships, so when I didn't get them, it's like, oh my God, how am I gonna pay for this school? How is my mom gonna pay? And we couldn't, you know. And I was very like embarrassed to talk about it for so long. But now I'm like, you know how many people dropped out because they couldn't afford college? You are not the first and you will not be the last either, right? So I just, you know, now I'm like, yeah, I couldn't afford it. And so I dropped out, and they were like, oh my God, you have to return home immediately. But really, I had some months that I was actually still legally here, right? And had they told me that, I could have transferred sooner. But everything happens the way it needed to happen because it ended up leading me where I'm at today, right? So this is now fast forward to 2017, and so this is months after, and my grandfather ended up passing. So I went to Suriname, and I had always told God, don't allow me to be in a place where he is going to pass or is passing and I cannot be there. I want to be able to lay my grandfather to rest the same way I did my grandmother, because he was like my father. He was not just my grandfather, he was my father. He was the man that really raised me. So it meant the world to me to still be there, even if I didn't see him alive, to just be there and lay him to rest. I wanted to do that. And so I was in the process of reapplying for a school, and I went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, and I couldn't get in with them right away because they needed me to reapply for my visa, meaning I had to go back home and refile for a new visa. So I went home to Amsterdam, and then from Amsterdam to Suriname, and then had a whole funeral of my grandfather, and in the middle of that I was still reapplying for a new visa. So it was very difficult, but at the same time I was like, I already did this before, and God did this before for me, so if he can do it one time, he can do it again. It's a blueprint with God. So I reapplied for everything, and with me reapplying, I also had to show up the documents all over again, and there was some difficulties there, some challenges. I did not have the same sponsorship that I had at the time, but so I was very worried, but I'm like, God, you've done it for me before. Find a way to redo it for me. I know you can, and I know you will, if this is your will for me anyway. So I'm not sure exactly how, but I think I ended up submitting the same documents all over again. And I went back to Amsterdam after the funeral, and there I got my passport, and I'm looking through it, because you leave your passport with the embassy, and then they send it back when your visa is approved or denied. And so they send me back my passport, and I'm going through it, and I see one big fat stamp, canceled, on my current visa. So I'm like, canceled, okay. Going through, I don't see any new visa. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't get it. Dang it, I didn't get it. And I was so hurt, but I'm like, you know what, God, I trust you. I didn't get it, so that means that you have something better for me here. And it was like a voice told me, go back. So I went back, I took my passport, like I had threw my passport like this on the table, and I picked it back up, and I went back through it. And then before I got to the old visa, I saw the new visa. And I'm like, what? Why would they even put it in front of the old one? Why not behind it, And like, it's so random. Mind you, this was April 1st of 2017. And I'm like, God, is this your April Fool's joke to me? Are you playing with me like that? Why would you play with me like that, God? I literally thought I didn't get it. And I had already told my mom, oh mom, I didn't get it. I told my aunt, I didn't get it. And she was like, oh well, I was so sure that God gave it to you, but okay, well, maybe he got something better. Just for me to turn around and find it, I was like, God, don't you have a sense of humor? And it was awesome. I was so happy. I was like, okay, here we go. We're going back to America, Everything went back, and I ended up moving to Florida from Atlanta. And yeah, I was there. Then I got a letter that the school was not accredited, so I had to move, and I had 2 weeks to move to Georgia because I already had a ticket to Georgia. I was visiting somebody here, so I was like, okay, I'm not just gonna keep buying tickets back and forth. I'll just move everything. So I had 2 weeks to move and get to school and blah blah blah. And then I ended up at the Art Institute of Atlanta, and I started in summer 2017. And my journey just continued on, and that's where I learned so much with fashion. Like, I learned fashion illustration in Florida, and I learned the basics of sewing that I already got, but sharpened and stuff like that, and like other fashion classes there. But I really enjoyed just when I learned pattern making and the full course, and I walked this, and of course I still had my day-to-day challenges, but I remained on the dean's list, I remained on the president's list. I always made sure that I was going above and beyond. And that is one thing that I would always give to somebody else who is wanting to pursue a career, whether it's fashion or whatever it is, right? Be consistent. Like, whenever you get a school project, don't just take it as a school project, but go above and beyond. Because even if it looks like nobody's watching, it's just for school, it's just your professor, that is actually preparing you for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So whenever I would have a fashion design project, I would do my illustrations. Like, a lot of times I would even illustrate outside of school. And so whenever we need to submit an illustration, I'm like, I already got this, I could just touch it up, or I could just redesign it and build on it. And whenever I would have to make an actual design, I could go to my illustrations and say, okay, I'm going to make this. And a lot of times I would make myself an outfit, so that it's just not actually only a class project, but it comes to life because it's on me. And now I would wear to school, I would wear to places, and people would be like, oh, I really like that, where did you get it? And that's free promotion, because I get to say, I did it, I made this, I'm in fashion design school. And that's how I built up a clientele. And people would be like, oh, can you make me something? And people would start to order stuff from me. And it literally started with me taking my class projects and turning them into more than what it needed to be. And that's really how I got here today, because a lot of times, most of the times, I was really the only one at school wearing my own design. Like, later on, people started to do it too, of course, but for the most part, I really did that a lot. And we had Dress for Success every Tuesday. So every Tuesday, I would try to wear my own design and dress it up, and people would always talk to me about my designs and ask for my number, ask for my Instagram. So I built a good amount of connections just because I would wear my own stuff. And people would be like, oh, I really like it. I need you to make me something. I need you to make me the same thing just for me, And with that, with me making myself stuff, I'm taking the patterns that I would get from school, that I would make in school, and actually make the garment. Even if the class was only pattern making, not fashion design itself or garment construction itself, I would still do it. And that got me to sharpen my skill. And a lot of times I would run into mistakes and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, because now I'm like, okay, I made a mistake. Next time I make this pattern, I'm gonna do it the other way around. I'm gonna change this, or I'm gonna change that. And I would learn things that I did not yet learn in school or in classes. And then by the time that I had garment construction classes and they would teach certain things, I already knew it. So you pick up faster because you already did it on your own, right? And that way my classes became easier. Like, I was not struggling learning certain things. I wasn't struggling learning pattern making or how to construct something, because I was teaching myself as I would go. So my growth tripled, And really, it also came from a place where I felt like I should have been graduated. The people that I actually started with, I went to college for the first time in 2013, the end of 2013. So, college is supposed to be 4 years. So I felt like by 2017, I should have already graduated. But because of all these challenges, I'm just now restarting college for real in 2017, and so I'm like, I'm behind. So I don't have time to wait for my professor to come and teach me something. I need to learn it right now. Ahora, ándale, now, And that attitude also pushed me to learn more and learn faster, because I just forced myself, like, you need to learn. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but for me, it was a good thing. It was a good thing to me. Like, I'm not saying like push yourself and overly push yourself, but for me, it pushed me to do enough to where I actually, perfected my craft more and at a faster speed than the average person, because I actually had more of an interest, because I felt like, yo, I should have been here, I don't know if that makes sense, but there's different projects that I ended up making, and one of my graduation piece actually made it to the cover of Simply Bucket magazine, and that was so unexpected. Um, and then I graduated in the middle of the pandemic, and we had like a pandemic graduation and everything, and now life is back to normal. But after graduation, um, the connection that I built in school, some of them are still my closest and best friends to this day. So college really is not just only for what you learn, it's really an experience of what you make it and what you decide to do. Um, the connections that you make are either they can push you in levels and places that you never dreamed of going in. And so one of my closest friends, Autumn, she is a wardrobe stylist as well. um, and she placed me in touch with other people who are in the film industry. And so after college, I had the opportunity to work as a tailor and seamstress for TV commercials, and I've been doing similar things since, right? And I think it's such an amazing thing because I never even dreamed of getting to this point. I never dreamed of being a tailor or seamstress for TV and film because I never thought that there was even a role such as that. I only thought I'm going to be a fashion designer, I'm going to have my own clothing stores, I'm going to make my own designs, and I'm going to make designs for um, men, women, and children, right? I thought I'll do it as broad as possible, and one day I'll have my store and have every design that I made in those stores, and hopefully I have like 3 stores, one in Miami, one in Amsterdam, and one in New York, and if I make it to Dubai, I would love to have one there too. But college opened up my horizon because now I also do seamstress work and tailoring and alterations. And what I really like about that a lot is because is that you never know what your day is going to look like. You never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to work with, and what the day is going to look like. Another thing I really love about that world is once you make a piece or you do alterations to a piece, that's it. You're not coming back to it unless they want to reshoot another time, which happened only one time so far, right? So you do the alterations, and you might have different fittings, different alterations to do, but once you're done on set, you're done. When I'm making a garment, I do the illustration, I do the pattern making, the cutting of the fabric, shopping for the fabric, making the piece, sewing it. There's so much that goes into it, and then you still have to do a fitting with the person, and you might have to do a second and a third fitting depending on what piece it is. And you might work with the muslin, and then from the muslin you go to the actual fabric. So there's so much, and then the person could still be like, oh, I don't like this, or I want this differently. Even though you had agreed on it previously, they might still say, oh, I want you to add this or take this away or do that differently. There's still so much that you have to still come back to. And on set, there's no such thing. You just do the alterations, they love it, that's it. And there's been instances where I'm a costume designer, and I'm actually building a costume to match somebody's vision. So yes, I'm still working within the parameters of this is what the person wants, this is what they like, or this is the vision for this particular shoot, but I still get to be creative because I'm still the one doing it and putting it together. I'm still working with my hands, which is something that I really love, right? So that's why I really like that industry, and I do see myself continuing in it, definitely, for as long as I possibly can and want to. But for now, I think it's gonna be quite some time. So one of the first commercials that I've worked on are Hotels.com and Vince Carter, and it was about him switching jerseys, and it's like a whole promotion for Hotels.com. And the largest one so far I've done was with Affleck and Deion Sanders, and we taped that one in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So that was a fun experience because that was the first time I was traveling for work, and that was always something I wanted to do, to travel for work. But I didn't see it coming the way it did, and I thought it was such an amazing experience. It was really great. We did some prep here in Georgia, and then we took everything to Tuscaloosa, and then we shot, and it was like a 4 or 5 days that we were there, and it was just a wonderful, great experience. Everything was very fast-paced, but I learned, and I'm still doing it. I'm really still enjoying it. Um, so there's various people that I've been working with or have worked with as a tailor and seamstress on set, and for some more like them personally, I would do styling and alterations, and for others it's just their stylist coming to me and I do the alterations and they take it, and sometimes I'm on set with the stylist, doing the fittings and then doing the alterations, and sometimes it's like a whole day thing. But it's a very, very great experience. So yeah. So baby Nabila would never dreamed of this. Never dreamed of this, but I know that baby Nabila would be so proud of me right now because I actually went for something that I'm truly passionate about, something that I truly love, you know? And I think that's really important, to really go after your dreams, really do that one thing that comes with ease, something that whenever you go and you do it, you don't dread doing it. And of course, we all have like a bad day. We all have a moment where it's like, you know what, I don't feel like it today. I don't want to get up today. I don't want to do this today. But for the most part, you truly enjoy every bit of what you do. That's really what I want to aspire people to do and motivate people to do. Go for that thing that you love doing the most. One thing, somebody can wake you up at 3 and 4 in the morning and say, go do this. And you're like, all right, I can do it. Like, of course, you don't want to keep doing it every day, but like at 3 and 4 in the morning. But I'm saying, like, really do that thing that it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. But if somebody was like, yo, I really need you to do this right now, you could just get them and say, all right, I could do it. Not like, oh my God, I hate it, I gotta do it again. I hate it, I gotta do one more time of this, So that's really it. That's really the story of how I got into fashion design. And I actually started my YouTube channel in 2017 with the intention of vlogging and just recording and showing the world my life across the border. That's what I called it, my life across the borders. And it was really me showing my life in America, moving from Suriname to Amsterdam, and from Amsterdam by myself to America, and what that journey looked like for me. Right? I wanted to share my story as I was going and show people the step by step, but I very easily found myself discouraged with the process of editing and uploading the videos, so I ended up not doing it as much as I wish I did. And in April of this year, 2023, I decided that I'm going to continue doing what I actually really wanted to do over 5 years ago, which is this channel and sharing my story and also highlighting the story of others. So now I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Corey. He is in New York. I met Corey when I went to New York Fashion Week. Behind the scenes, I was helping this fashion designer with her collection and showcasing, and it was a horrible experience, but I learned a lot. And I met Corey right there, and I think he was the security at the time, and we've still been in touch on Instagram. And he was like, I have this great idea for you. You should do a podcast in which you interview people. And at first I was like, I'm not the podcast kind of girl. Everybody has a podcast nowadays. I'm not doing it. But then I quickly thought, you know what? I always wanted to share my story, and I always, wanted to highlight that of others too. So I really am gonna do what Corey said. I'm gonna do this podcast or show, whatever you want to call it. And I'm gonna continue to share my story as we go. And so I took that idea, and here is now Fashion Views, where we share our views in fashion, or our views on fashion, right? So now I have this, and this is me telling my story first, and we will of course have other people that I will invite within the fashion industry that will share their testimony and their stories, and give tips and tricks, and maybe motivate you to actually do what you want to do, you know. So that's where Fashion Fuse comes in. And while I'm in it, let me show you guys, this is my outfit for the day. This is a dress that I made for my birthday, which was on May 12th, this past birthday. And like I said earlier, I always do a design for my birthday or for special occasions. And I wanted to do something else. Normally I have a big poofy dress, and this time I wanted something more form-fitted but very elegant and very classy, yet still long, because I love me a good long train moment. It has these beautiful beads and sequins on it, and it's sheer. Let me stand up one more time. So this is that outfit, and yeah, this is my new platform, Fashion Fuse, where I share together with you my views in fashion, where people who come on this platform will share their views on fashion. And with that being said, oh guys, I talk so much, the eyes done turned watery. But with that being said, oh no, I shook it. I shouldn't have shaken it, but shaking it. Whatever. With that being said, I would like to make a toast to my views on fashion. Ooh, oh, it got a little, let me see if I could show y'all this. Hold on. It has a little thingy right there. A man, probably the founder. So okay, how do I take this off? Okay, I'm hoping that it's not gonna. This is so hard. Come on, please, come on. Woo! Yes! So guys, cheers to Fashion Fuse, where we share our views in fashion. Cheers! Woo! I am so excited to start this. I'm so excited to see what everybody else has to share with us, and I'm just excited.